Shields up, Ironbreakers. Today we're going to be taking a look at First Berserker Khazan. This is a game that I got to play while I was over there at Gamescom. As a matter of fact, shout out to the Nexon crew for allowing me to play the game despite the fact that I didn't really have a booking with them, because usually when you go to Gamescom you're expected to book all of your gameplay sessions, capture sessions, interviews, all of that type of stuff. And I didn't really plan to do a whole lot of things, but when I started looking at First Berserker Khazan on the show floor, I was like, you know what? This actually looks really interesting, looks like something I might be into, and initially when I first saw the reveal, I was kind of hesitant because it being Nexon and they do a lot of live service games with a lot of monetization stuff that I usually don't enjoy that much. I was wondering, oh, is this going to be another one of those titles? But it looks like this is a title where they're going to be focusing more so on the single player experience, so that has me a little bit more excited. Another thing that I discovered a little bit later is that apparently the person who is going to be voice acting Khazan in this particular game is going to be Ben Starr, who, in case you guys don't know, also happens to voice Clive in Final Fantasy XVI, which, me personally, I greatly enjoyed his role in that. And it makes me wonder just how in-depth the story of this game is actually going to be, because you wouldn't just hire Ben Starr to voice a character in a game that's not going to really have all that much focus on story. But having said that, the bit of gameplay that I did experience didn't actually have pretty much that much story focus. It was more so kind of like an introduction. You are playing as a character called Khazan, who happens to be this general or commander who is kind of like exiled to the snowy mountains, and that is where the adventure begins. Now, naturally, as you guys could see at the beginning of this gameplay, which by the way is not mine, this is B-roll because I wasn't really allowed to capture footage of the game, but the game ran pretty smoothly. In case you guys are wondering, there were really no frame rate issues or anything of that nature. The game ran pretty good, and I had a pretty good time with it. But as I was saying, at the beginning of this, you will see that the general is like all busted up, like bleeding all over the place, and there's a dark voice saying like, ooh, a body, I have a body. So clearly there's like some type of entity kind of like taking over General Khazan, and that is probably going to be the crux of the story. And if I had to describe this game in a way that is comprehensible for people, I do believe that this is a Souls-like. I think they're describing it kind of like an action RPG. I look at it kind of like as a Souls-like because it's got all of the bog standard stuff, like you have your bonfire likes, which is this weird sword thing that shows up, and basically you can rest there, resets all of the enemies. When you die, you're expected to go and collect your souls, for lack of a better term. I forget exactly what the name of the thing was. And you know, you also have your traditional stuff, like you have blocking, dodging, you have perfect parries, perfect blocks, all of that good stuff that we've come to expect. And at this point you guys are like, okay, so what differentiates this from other Souls-likes? And in my opinion, it's probably going to be more so the presentation. As you can see, our character is already like dual wielding a sword and an axe, which is something that you usually don't really start with in a lot of Souls-likes, which is an interesting playstyle. That's not the only weapon that the character is going to have, because I've been looking over the website. There's also going to be like a spear of some description, as well as a great sword, and they're probably going to be announcing more things as we move forward with the marketing cycle for this game, because the game's only going to be releasing at some point in 2025. There's no real hard dates as of the recording of this video, but that can change pretty fast, as we've seen, because the industry is just moving at the speed of light nowadays, it almost feels like. But yeah, the thing that would distinguish it is that presentation, like the blood and gore, the art style. It's a stylized game that in my opinion actually looks really good. I find the art style very appealing, and I like how impactful everything feels. Like, you guys will see the parries here on this boss that we're showing right now. You can usually tell the difference between just like a regular block and a parry if you see like the red flashes coming through. And you guys might wonder, okay, so what do we get by parrying things? And parrying is just blocking at the last second, pretty much. Like you saw that right there, that was a parry. You guys are like, okay, so what do we get by parrying things? Well, enemies do have somewhat something that is akin to like a posture gauge. And if you break that, you get like a visceral attack, which I believe is what we actually did right there. It does a ton of damage. So your objective is obviously going to be deal as much damage as possible, and at the same time, if you're able to parry the enemy attacks, deal some damage to his posture gauge. If the enemy is blocking, you can also charge your heavy attack, which Light and heavy attack are pretty much super familiar for anybody who's played Souls. You hit your R1 on the PlayStation controller or your right bumper on your Xbox controller, and that is going to be like just a light attack, and then you hit your R2, and that is going to be a heavy attack, which can be charged. So if somebody is blocking and you charge like a big heavy, that's going to bust up their posture gauge real good. Like that right there, that's going to bust the dude up. There's also perfect dodges, even though the little bit of gameplay that I was allowed to play, which was only like about 20 minutes, give or take, didn't really let me get a good feel at the massive advantage that it would be to do a perfect dodge. However, there are some attacks that you cannot block or parry, and for those attacks, obviously, you do want to dodge. So that's more so the usefulness of dodging. Pretty much, you also level up whenever you go to these bonfires. You're able to put in points into like strength, dexterity, vigor, the usual stats that you have. And there's going to be equipment that you pick up. As you can see, our character is beginning to look like the Michelin Man. The armors that I picked up were actually very different from this B-roll. Like the armor in this B-roll almost looks a little bit goofy. I don't know how accurate it is, because I know that sometimes we look at some armor that looks goofy and people are like, actually, that's very historically accurate. That would be very good for protection. But I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the armor that I was picking up when I was playing was very different. In my opinion, looked better than this because my character didn't look like the Michelin Man. But anyway, that's kind of like the thing. And in a lot of ways, I would almost describe this as violent Souls because of how gratuitous they are with the gore, which personally I appreciate. I know that not everybody is into that type of stuff, but I like it. I like, slashing up on somebody and just seeing puddles of blood jumping off. It was pretty cool. But I did get stuck in one of the bosses, and after I reviewed this B-roll that I'm showing you guys here, I actually noticed that I didn't really fight an optional boss that was there. You guys can see that we still have shinies. This is one of those things. If you've played a Souls game, this is going to be something that feels very familiar. And in my opinion, it plays real good. The biggest question to me still is this actually going to be more of a single player thing? Or are they going to introduce some of their live service elements to it because Nexon are the ones publishing it? But I just feel like that doesn't really make a lot of sense for a game like this. As you can see, there's also plunging attacks and there's traps in the scenery. Like there was one section up above where you guys might have noticed that the ground kind of like falls off and stuff like that. And there's also shortcuts that you unlock. I remember at some point in the demo that I was playing, I pushed a cart off of a cliff and that formed like a little shortcut that I could more easily get to a boss, which was not that dude that showed up there. They're cutting this a little bit haphazardly, which is understandable because it's B-roll. It's not really meant to be commentated over like this. But yeah, there's also archers. You're able to like block stuff. There was not a whole lot of diversity of enemies in the small time that I played, but again, it was just 20 minutes, so we do have to keep those things in mind. As you can see right there, he actually did a one of those visceral attacks that I was talking about. Now, one of the things that I've already told you guys pretty much all of the controls. Like I said, you got R1 light attack, R2 heavy attack. There's a parry system by just blocking last second. There's dodging, perfect dodging. There's a posture gauge on enemies, visceral attack, bonfires, all of that stuff. But one of the things that I didn't get to experience in my demo time was special attacks, which we will actually see because on the included B-roll they show a couple of boss fights that I didn't get to do. Although I'm pretty sure that those boss fights were available, but I just was stuck on the first boss that you guys will see here. It's not this one. This one I actually didn't get to fight him because I didn't even know that he was here. Just a big bear. But this gives you kind of like an idea of what to expect in terms of bosses. Like, look at that. Look at how brutal that is. Just grabs you, throws you into the ground. I kind of feel like this game isn't really like, breaking the mold per se. But what it does good. Like, the action feels good. The parries feel good. The visceral attacks feel good to do. Which I think is important because there's oftentimes we get these Souls-likes that actually don't have that much weight behind their movements. So I'm very happy to report that that is not the case here. Like, you can clearly see that there's, the combat is tight. It is not floaty at all. The moves feel good. They connect. It feels nice. You got the dodges. You got the parries. Everything that we've grown accustomed to. And it plays good, which is something that I'm happy to say. But again, I am still a little bit concerned on account of the fact that it is Nexon. But yeah, this is one of the bosses. The person actually playing this particular B-roll is exceedingly skilled. Like, I got my face rocked by the first dude that had like the halberd. He just completely destroyed me, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in a row, something like that. So here we see one of the other bosses. Now, the gauge on these ones actually works differently. Like, you didn't really get a posture attack when you broke their gauge, but you got like an opening. They had like a different color posture gauge, which opens up different possibilities for different monsters and whatnot that you are dealing with, which I think is interesting. That right there is what a bonfire looks like. This right here is the shortcut that I told you guys about. So you push that, becomes a ramp that now works as a shortcut to the next boss. And then in here you can also level up. I guess they don't really show that stuff. But yeah, that thing works very much like a bonfire. So whenever you rest on one of those, all of the enemies respawn, all of the things that you would pretty much expect. Now they're going to be going into the boss that I was stuck in. I think I only got to do like 5 or 6 attempts on this. But I'll be honest, I was nowhere close to getting it done. Which to me is a good thing, because it means that the developers are confident enough in their product that they're like, we're not just going to make an easier demo version for the show floor. What you see here is what you're going to get in the game. At least that is what I would expect, because this boss manages to straddle that line where it almost feels like you can't do it because of the damage that you're dealing and how much damage he's dealing to you and all of that stuff. But at the same time, it feels barely achievable, which is kind of like the thing you want to get on your first couple of encounters on a boss in a Souls-like. You want it to feel hard, but also just like that there's a chance, right? You look at it and like, oh, there's a chance I can do this. Yeah, you got me with a lot of these attacks. This guy, his attacks are actually quite delayed. And from the gameplay footage, you won't be able to tell. You have to actually play the game, but you'll notice that some of his attacks are a little bit delayed, which made them kind of hard for me to actually land the perfect parries. Usually when he did this, I would actually go for a charged R2, which was very effective. But yeah, he does this. This is brutal. Look at it. I love the animations on this. It's so good. And then he marks his territory and stuff. They're also skipping, because like you might be saying, oh man, he's going to kill the boss real fast. No, they're skipping ahead through the fight in the interest of time. This one took me a long time to learn how to dodge, because the tell is not super easy. I don't know if that's something that the developers might consider. Oh, maybe we should make that tell maybe a little. But I think with practice, people should be able to get it. But yeah, looks like he got him down. Coming in with the massive damage. Damn, that was pretty brutal. I don't think I ever got the boss down to this point. Yeah, see, that would have been a gauge break, most likely. Because the boss just, like, you know, reeled back and whatnot. Then he powers up. Oh, no, I did get to this point. Yeah, I did get to the point where he did this. But I didn't get much further. He starts shooting down his breath and whatnot. Parries. Look at those parries. Now, I will say, if you're the type of person that is not too into parries, you're probably not going to have a good time with this, because, yeah, you definitely need to land quite a few of these parries in order to be able to punish the bosses appropriately. There it is. That's the visceral attack. And it looks like he's pretty close to getting him down. Considering you got a visceral attack at this point, I think the boss should be fairly near. Oof! Bro, that thing is actually really hard to dodge the first couple of times that you do it. Also, fun little fact, you guys want to know the person that was playing this game ahead of me right before I did my session? It was Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley was in there playing First Berserker Khazan. Now, they also have footage of some boss fights. I'm going to be skipping the cutscene. Well, it's almost ending anyways. Do we get a little bit of Ben Starr's voice acting? No, just a couple of grunts. Okay, that's fair. I never got to see that cutscene. Oh. What have we here? Alright. So they did give me also a couple of boss fights, and the boss fights are actually really cool because they let you see the character at a more advanced point. So like in here you can see that there's like dodge punishes going on and stuff, which we didn't have previously. So like when he does perfect dodges, he's also able to follow up, and you see these special attacks that leave these trails of blood. And again, that's another one of those things that really distinguishes this game from other Souls-likes. It's just that presentation of your character being absolute berserker. Look at this. I don't even know how these particular attacks work. Like the slash spam that he's doing there, I have no idea what that is. The boss also looks pretty cool. I'm assuming that this boss was maybe some type of blacksmith or something. He's got like a big blacksmithing hammer and whatever is the other thing that he's got on his hand. It's like a freaking huge, you know, burning nail or something. I don't know. But yeah, I like the presentation. I like how visceral it looks. There's also like something where he throws his axe in here and then charges in. And in here he's going to throw a spear. I'm not sure if that's just a spell or if that's actually attached to the spear weapon, because these are mechanics that I didn't get to experience in the actual game. Yeah, these boss battles look badass. They actually included 2 boss battles. There's another one that has like a crossbow. And this, I'm also really curious to see what that is, like the letter that showed up. I'm assuming that's some type of special stance or some type of buff that you do that buffs your character. But like, look at him just nailing it into that boss. I think this one's going to be a fun one, but I'm going to be very curious to hear from you guys in the comment section. What do you guys think about First Berserker Khazan? Is that something that you guys would like to see on the channel? Because I'm most likely going to play this, depending, of course, of when it actually releases. Because there's like already, obviously in 2025, we have Monsanto Wilds, but there's already another like 2 games that I also want to play that I wasn't expecting. 2025 is actually shaping up to be pretty friggin' good. But yeah, they're going to show off this other boss now. This boss looks way cooler. Got this crossbow mace thing going on. Straight up with the stance. From the get-go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Bam! Bam! Get bashed in the face. That's pretty cool. They're going to show off a couple more abilities that he does as he like shoots his crossbow, just to give you an idea of a boss. But it's again, it's one of those things. From everything that I've seen in this game so far, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just giving you like a different presentation to it. It's like, our character's a berserker. Look at this cool ass art that we've made for this video game. Look at the blood and gore that's splattering all over the place. And I'm assuming that the theme of the story is also going to be equally violent. Like, look at this. It just looks hella fun. And I can tell you from what I've played, it is hella fun. Like, the combat feels solid. So I definitely want to see more of it. Pew pew. I don't know if they actually show us killing this dude. Jesus. My man's just gone like full range mode. Became a heavy bowgun main. There it is, the charge in. That would have actually been a visceral attack, but they chose not to do it. No, they did do it. The visceral attack there at the end. I still can't identify all of the moves that the character is doing, because it's not second nature yet, but yeah. But anyway, that is going to be it for First Berserker Khazan. Let me know how you guys feel about this in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, hit the dislike button. Feedback is important. See you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.